Hello everyone and welcome to another paperback journey where today we're going to be talking about The Wastelands, which is the third book in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. This novel continues to follow Roland and the rest of the quartet as they journey through the post-apocalyptic midworld on their way to the elusive Dark Tower. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by giving a general review of the book, what I thought about it, what I liked, what I didn't like, and then I am going to later on go into some spoiler territory, but don't worry, I'm going to give you a warning beforehand, so, you know, nothing's going to get spoiled if you haven't read it. And then after that, I'll give ratings on what I thought of the plot, what I thought of the characters, the world itself, the originality, and then also the overall impact that this book had on me. I'm really excited to talk about this book because it's got a character in it, and don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it yet, but it's got a character in it that I need to talk about. I'm so excited to talk about them. It's also got the weirdest ending to any book I've ever read. So let's get into it. Starting off with the things that I liked about this book. I'm just going to put it down. I feel like I'm sort of like waving it around and it's pretty big, you know? So yeah, the thing that I liked about the book the most is the world itself, Midworld. Because although it's fantastical and, you know, it's got all these weird and wonderful creatures, the lore and the history make it feel as if this could actually be a real place that exists beyond our world. And I know that's the whole idea, but the history remains consistent, and it is interesting to find out more about what happened to this place. What was it like before? What caused it to be this barren wasteland? Every time one of the characters started talking about, you know, oh, this is when this great event happened, and this was this character, and this was this army, and they fought against this army for this reason. It never got boring. I just wanted to know more and more and more. I just wanted to sit around a campfire with the characters, kind of like watching them all reacting. What do you think? What do you remember? You know, I wanted to lean in and ask the characters more questions. So yeah, the world is fantastic. Love it. The second thing that I really liked was the well-rounded and very likable characters. Now, a lot of these characters we've spent some time with, and the longer I spend with these characters, the more I like them. The more I see their flaws, the more I see their fears and how they overcome those fears and how they overcome the internal struggles that they have, the more I'm rooting for him. The character I find most relatable is still Eddie Dean. I love Eddie. He's had a lot of struggles in his life, and it's just good when you see an underdog overcoming things. But these characters aren't perfect either. They are flawed. I would say in the case of Roland, he is deeply flawed. But because he's flawed and because Susannah and Eddie Dean, all of them are liable to make mistakes or be selfish or be frightened and back down, that can happen. No one is perfect in this story. And because they have those flaws and they often fail as much as they succeed, the stakes are heightened, right? It makes it so that you actually don't know the outcome of what's going to happen. One of the things that I really, really don't like about a book is when I know what's going to happen. I know they're going to get away. I know they're going to escape, you know? It's boring. I don't like it. I like it when I think, yeah, one of these people could go. One of my favorite characters could die. That's when I'm leaning in, I'm flipping the pages. I got to know. And that's what this book does, because like I say, these characters are not perfect. They lose. That's not a spoiler, by the way. They lose and they win, and it's a mixture, right? Another thing that I think is really cool about reading the Dark Tower series in general is that it's a complete blend of, a complete mixture of genres. So you've obviously got fantasy, but you've also got the Western genre. You've also got sci-fi. Sci-fi really features in this book. You've also got kind of action adventure. So I've never read a Western book. I've watched and enjoyed a lot of Western movies, you know. Unforgiven is one of my favorite films. I love it. True Grit, amazing. But it feels like I've sort of been tricked into reading a Western, and I like it. I'm not mad about it. Okay, so now let's get serious, all right? Let's talk about what I didn't like about this bloody thing. I feel like the pacing is all over the place. I've got to say that, you know. Stephen King writes in a very readable way, but he also likes to really spread it thin at some points. He likes to make sure that you understand what's going on, you know? It's like, yeah, I get it. I get it, Steve. You know, I understand. Everyone said what they needed to say. Let's move on. Never with the history. With the history, just keep going all day. Just keep going with it. I'm fine with that. But what I mean is, there'll be certain scenes where he'll need to describe every nook and cranny. He'll need to like make sure that you understand exactly what the terrain looked like and what every character thought and what every character said and what every other character thought about the other one and what they said. And you just want to go, all right, man, can we go now? Can we go to the next thing? Because like, I think I get what's going on, you know? And he's like, you sure? You sure? You sure? As soon as we go, we're not coming back. You know, it's like, yeah, let's go. And then on the opposite end, we'll spend a long time building suspense. And I like that. I like suspense. I like that feeling. But then we'll quickly shoot past the payoff, you know? And you go, oh, I was expecting something really epic was going to be happening, you know? And the juice didn't feel worth the squeeze there. It felt like we were really spending a long time building up to this point, and then it didn't satisfy. That wasn't always the case. I don't want to say that, but just in a few instances, I was like, oh, yeah, it's all right. Another thing I didn't particularly like, but it's something that I can't wait to talk about, is the ending. But yeah, so actually, let's dive into spoilers now. So if you haven't read this book already, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're planning on reading it, and then you can come back to this video afterwards and we can talk about, you know, we can dive deeper into the specifics. But yeah, let's just get stuck into it. Okay, right? We're gonna start talking about spoilers. I'm about to do it. Jake's back. What? What? When I read that scene, I was so happy. I wish you could have seen me when I read that scene. In fact, I'm just going to reenact it. This is my face. I'm going to talk more about that, but I guess what I want to do is I want to keep it a little bit in order. So yeah, let's talk about Jake in a minute, but let's talk about Susannah first. The opening scene with Susannah Dean. Ah, man. This is what I'm talking about. A Western. Immediately, I was like, this is like a Western. You know, when she's learning about the kind of mantra that the gunslingers say to themselves before they pull the trigger to focus their mind, to kind of steady their hand, is so epic. And that's how it opens. And I was like, bang, I'm right back in. I'm right back in. Every time they spoke that mantra. Do you know what I'm talking about? When they're like, I do not aim with my hand. He who aims with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. I aim with my eye. You know, that bit. Wicked. I loved it every single time they said it. And I liked all of the training scenes, basically. It felt as though we were witnessing in real time Eddie and Susannah slowly becoming legitimate gunslingers. When Susannah took out the mechanical bear, I think his name was Shardik. Yes. When Eddie took down the bandits in Lud. Yes. These two are building their own war stories, just in the same way that Roland has his war stories. Okay, next scene. Let's talk about Jake coming back. Yes. When we're first back with Jake and he's experiencing those conflicting memories, one where he's always been in New York City and then another where he died and he was in another world with Roland. Those two ideas existing in his mind at once, driving him crazy, and then Roland in Midworld also experiencing those same conflicting emotions, conflicting memories. That was really cool. That was a great way of kind of introducing multiple timelines that exist at once. And when Jake, listen, I gotta tell you, when Jake was going to each door, opening up doors, expecting to see another world, like, oh, hello, hello. I think there was even a scene where a girl kind of turned around and went, oh, what are you doing in here, you know? And he was like, sorry, I was expecting to see another world. The kid's losing his mind, it seems like. And I was really, really worried, man, because I was thinking to myself, is this going to be like a cruel joke that Stephen King plays on all of us? Am I going to watch this kid opening doors, being let down, getting his hopes up again, opening a door, being let down, and just watch him do that over and over again and watch him? I thought there was going to be a scene where he just kind of gets old and he's just opening doors for his whole life and then he just dies, never being able to be reunited with Roland. I really thought that was going to happen because it just kept happening and happening, you know? So yeah, all of the scenes with Jake, I liked them all in New York City. I liked all of those. I loved it when he went to that bookstore. You know, obviously I love bookstores. You love bookstores. We all love bookstores. And when he's in the bookstore and he picks up that old children's book about Charlie the Choo Choo, man, later on, we find out that this is Blaine the Mono, right? But just that book alone was so creepy. It reminded me of like some sort of twisted version of Thomas the Tank Engine, you know? Maybe a Thomas the Tank Engine that smokes 40 Marlboro Red a day, you know? Just kind of, hey kids, hey! Climb aboard. I know I was complaining about some scenes. It felt like it was a big build up and then little payoff. This was not one of those scenes. The payoff was listen, this scene was crazy, man. When Jake came back into Midworld, it was like there was a lot going on. Okay, so let's just try and break it down. In this world, in New York City, you've got Jake and he's following Eddie from Eddie's past, and because Jake's from Eddie's past as well, current Jake is from Eddie's past, and he's following Eddie as a teenager and Henry Dean, his brother. Then he goes into a haunted house and the haunted house is trying to kill Jake. It's trying to take out Jake in this world and stop him from getting to the doorway that he needs to get to. Then in Midworld, you've got Eddie Dean, who has been carving out this key for ages, and he's been procrastinating because he's worried about getting it wrong, worried about making a mistake, so he's got that stress going on in his head. And then you've got Roland protecting him from a demon in part, but you've also got Susannah Dean, who is really doing the lion's share of the work in this scene. This was pretty shocking. This is not what I was expecting when they said that they were going to distract a demon. But Susannah is... I didn't know how I felt about it because I'm not going to go into too much detail about what happened because, you know, I want to be... I don't want YouTube to hate me, basically. But basically, there was a lot that was happening with Susannah. And of course, I felt so traumatized for her. But she was able to channel Detta, right? And I don't know if it was just me, but did the demon seem like it was afraid of Detta? It definitely was, wasn't it? It definitely was. It was like, oh, this is a bit more than I bargained for. I don't, and that was in a way kind of amusing, and I think it was meant to be amusing and shocking, and it was both. And then the moment when Roland and Jake are reunited, it was just so nice. I think Jake says something along the lines of, you didn't drop me this time. You didn't drop me this time. And he's like, no, and I never will again. And it was just like, look, even as I say it, I start getting goosebumps, you know, because I'm reliving it. But yeah, that was really cool. I loved it. I loved seeing Jake back with his family again. His sort of like makeshift family. And although it was the first time that he met Eddie, Dean, and Susannah, they became fast friends, didn't they? And it was just cool to see. It felt like the group was complete now that they had Jake, and also oi, oi, oi. I love that he's Cockney, by the way. Sounds like me. Yeah, he's great. I liked Oi. Very cute little creature, and a good companion as well. Someone that's actually, you know, useful to have around. Another thing I really liked, there was a lot that I liked in this book, to be honest. Another thing I really enjoyed, another scene, was when they went to river crossing. And you remember all the kind of elderly people that were there? They remember what this world used to be like before. And they're able to tell Roland and to tell the rest of the group all about the history of the pubes and the pubes and the greys. And the war that they had and how they were using old technology. Again, that's what I'm talking about when I say I love the history of the world, and I love the way that the world feels fully realized with its own lore. That's really satisfying. And also, I just liked the way that they treated Roland. I feel like he's been, every scene I've seen him in, he's going from place to place and people are looking down their nose at him. They're treating him with disrespect. But these people were treating him how it seems like gunslingers used to be treated back in the old days of this world. You know, they're kind of treating him like he's a knight in shining armor. Oh, you've graced us with your presence. Let us give you a big meal and please stay with us as long as you can. And they love him. They're obsessed with him. And I just felt good for Roland, just having that experience, especially having Eddie and Susannah and Jake all looking at him kind of in a different light and seeing, oh, actually, we didn't know. We've been traveling around with a rock star, you know? I thought that was a rare W for Roland. When the group finally arrive in Lud, the description, as is always the case with Stephen King, of the city decaying and falling apart was so vivid and so real, and I really liked it. It really felt like, okay, we're transitioning now to a new part of the story. I love that. Also, we knew the history of the pubes and the greys, so we knew that maybe some of them would still be lurking around, and this was a dangerous place to be. When they crossed I think it was the Brooklyn Bridge, right? Was it the Brooklyn Bridge? Or was it another New York borough? I can't remember. But yeah, when they crossed the bridge, it was... again, really descriptive. I'm someone that doesn't particularly like heights, like Eddie. Yeah, that was a great scene. And then having Gasher at the end, just there to take Jake away from them, it heightened the stakes. It made everything real, and you're starting to think to yourself, all right, now we're coming in to the home straight now. This is when everything's going to come to a climax. This is also when Oi really becomes very useful, and he starts helping Roland navigate through all the booby traps as he's hunting down Gasher to the TikTok man. The TikTok man, I felt like and this is what I'm saying, where scenes don't always fulfill the suspense. I thought the TikTok man was going to be way more of a challenge for Roland, but he was just like another one of the Stooges, you know. He wasn't anything special, I didn't think. And he's got that epic name, the TikTok man. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a big showdown, but not really. Roland can gobble him up, spit him out, easy. Yeah, so he rescues Jake. And then, and this is one of the most heartwarming scenes, was when everyone was reunited at the end. And it felt like a true coming together of a family that missed each other. You know, I don't know if you've ever spent a long time away from your family and you see them at the airport and you wrap your arms around them and you're like, yes, yes, I can't believe it. It's been so long. That's what it felt like for these people, you know? They were so happy to see each other. Susannah just wrapping her arms around Jake and kissing him, and Eddie and Roland just like shaking hands like, yes, brother. It was just, it was cool. I enjoyed it a lot. And it was really, like I say, I've overused the word now, but it was really heartwarming. And then after that, we get to spend some time, and we're coming up to the ending now, where we meet Blaine the Mono. This is a uniquely Stephen King character. He is a sentient monorail who loves riddles. Amazing. With that being said, though, and I love to give Stephen King credit, I really, you know, I love to say all the things that I love about Stephen King. But let me just say something. What is it with Stephen King and endings? This bloke is a madman. Like, Steve, what are you doing, man? Like, at the ending of this book, I was thinking to myself, oh, this is interesting. He's giving them all these riddles and he's solving them all. And basically the deal is that if Blaine the Mono can't solve their riddles, then he has to let them live. But if he can solve all of their riddles before they reach Topeka, then... And so I was thinking, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? I mean, this is a machine. He's like an artificial intelligence. He has almost infinite knowledge. How are they going to outsmart him? I don't know how this is going to end. And as it turns out, neither did Stephen King. Stephen King didn't know how his own book was going to end. And so at the end, we get this author's note that says something along the lines of, yeah, you know, writing's hard, and like sometimes you're just not struck by the muse, and you know, I really did try and think of an ending, but just couldn't really think of one. So, you know, maybe next time, maybe. Yeah, can't really think of anything right now. Okay, bye. Bruv, what? I've never read anything like that before. What are you doing? Like, what are you... That's cheating. You're not allowed to do that. So that's going to be the question of the video that I'd really like you to answer. I really would appreciate your feedback because it's driving me crazy. What did you think of the ending? Like, what did you think? Did you think it was satisfying to kind of leave it on a cliffhanger and, oh, I'm going to look forward to that? And also, did you read this when it was published? And I think it was like 6 years until the next book. And if you did, what did that feel like? Because I would have been angry. Like, it wasn't such a big deal for me because, like I say, I've got the whole collection on my bookshelf behind me, so I can just pick up the next book. But if you had to wait 6 years, over half a decade until the next book, what did that feel like? Okay, let's quickly get into the ratings. So let's start off with the plot. Really liked the plot. Really liked the build up and Jake coming back and Susannah and Eddie learning their trade as gunslingers and finding out a little bit more about Roland's past. But listen, endings count. Endings are a part of the plot. And so that's going to bring it down a little bit. Overall, I did like it, the plot. And so I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5, which is better than it sounds. That's like a 7 out of 10. So yeah, I did like the plot. The ending brought it down. It probably would have been a 4.5 if it wasn't for that crazy ending. Okay, next up is characters. Easy, easy, easy. 5 stars. Easy, easy. Next, the setting. 5 stars, easy, easy, 5 stars. The world, the history, the lore, everything. Yeah, easy, 5 stars. Originality, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. You know, it's not the most original story, but then There are really original components of it, I think. Blame the Mono being probably the most original part of it. And then overall, I would say that The Wastelands is maybe my favorite book of the series so far. It's either that or The Drawing of the Three. I'm not sure. This might even be a little bit better than The Drawing of the Three. I don't know though, man. That was a good book. Yeah, but I'm going to give it overall 4 stars out of 5. Really good. Would recommend. If you weren't already aware, I'm actually going to be reading and reviewing all of the 24 books in the extended multiverse of the Dark Tower. I said multiverse weirdly there, but let's just go with it. So if you like this review, please subscribe, come back for the next review, or chances are you can just click up here and you're going to be able to see my review for the next one, which is, one second, Wizard and Glass. And look at this little fella. Look, oh no, I've broke it. I've broke my bookmark. Oh, what? Anyway, I'll show you the bookmark in the next video. This is going to be what I'm reviewing next. I'm so glad that you joined me for another paperback journey. I hope you join me for the next one. Oh man, I'm enjoying this series. Let's keep it going. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.